Using the power of the internet, you can now watch GLC on any TV in the US, Canada, the UK, and Ireland with Roku. Basically, a box that connects to your television. Roku acts as a middleman between your internet connection and your television. So if you have internet service at your home, chances are high that you can watch all of the great GLC programming. And best of all, it's highly affordable too, with only a one-time fee ranging from $50 to $100. Log on to our website, www.glc.us.com, for details on how you can watch GLC via Roku.
Well, welcome to Update News.
It is Update News.
And it's Wednesday.
It's incredible. We're on hump day, and I'm ready for Friday.
Actually, to me, it's been Thursday all day, so I'm more than ready. Okay, well, let's see. The first thing that we want to share is a message that came in today.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really great message. This came from Mason, who is one of our do-it-all dudes around here. He sent a message earlier today that we absolutely have to share with you. He said, Mason is in charge of, well, he does production and editing, but he does all of our online anything. Anything that concerns the website, anything that concerns our social media outreach, in any of the ways that people can view GLC or now listen to GLC by various means. He says, I received correspondence on Facebook the other day from a lady who loves our channel, but she claimed that she could no longer watch us. After I sent her a list of ways to watch, she informed me that she'd moved to New Delhi, India, and that she would explore her options. In any case, I announced GLC Radio to a positive online response. She wrote back a couple hours after I'd posted and said she was able to receive our audio signal, and now she can listen to us anywhere she goes. Here's her message. Thank you for the excellent walkthrough to install internet radio on my Android phone. Now I can hear messages of GLC and be blessed. God richly bless you all. Aruna, New Delhi, India. Now, is that way cool or what?
But it also shows the variety of ways that people can see GLC or listen. It's great. And that's our team. Our team is awesome. This is the brand new thing, GLC Radio.
Is that the banner on the website?
Yes, and when you click on it, this is what comes up. It comes up with 6 radio buttons that you can click. There are 4 designations. There they are right there, 6 designations. iTunes Internet Radio, that's for your computer. The TuneIn Radio, which takes you to their website. And Shoutcast Radio, which you can do from their website, or it's an app as well, cross-platform. It'll go on any computer. And then there's 3 more, and those are for your mobile device. You have TuneIn Radio, which is for any kind of a mobile device that you have. You have an Apple-only Internet Radio Box app, and then a online radio app for Android phones. So basically, Amy, anything that you have, you can listen to GLC Radio.
Really?
Absolutely. And the quality is excellent.
Well, I did when Mason was posting that stuff. He sent me the link so I could check it out. And what Aruna is talking about is probably what you guys implemented, because it's like this little animated thing of this is what happens going along, and you're doing the voiceover on them.
Right.
To tell people step by step how to do everything.
That's right. So it's very, very simple. Whatever you saw on the screen, you click on that button, you click on a little movie, and it will walk you through how to set it up. So you don't have to even know computers. It's very simple.
That is very simple, and they can access that just by clicking on the banner.
That's right.
That is so cool.
Yes, it's great.
You guys are Johnny on the spot, I tell you.
Well, we have a great crew.
We do have a great crew. I love our crew. One of the things that I need to be mentioning to everybody, because I'm the one who's supposed to be paying the bills. I can't pay bills without money. And I know that a lot of people have been like getting their kids back in school, and it's tough. I know the economy's bad. The economy is bad here too. You know, it's a funny thing here in Odessa. This is Odessa Midlands, where all the oil field stuff is. And oil field workers make a lot of money. People who work for oil companies make a lot of money. Consequently, the cost of everything has gone up dramatically in this area. And, you know, a lot of people are actually having to leave the area who don't work for an oil company because the cost of living is so high here now.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's not that all job rates have gone up. It's the ones that are related to the oil industry.
That's right. And there is like nowhere you go that now hiring or help wanted signs are not posted.
Right.
They're just everywhere. It's amazing.
So consequently, we're not doing great financially right now, and we could use some help.
Yes, we could. We could use a lot of help because we're in a terrible bind, and I have a lot of people, including both satellite companies, on my back right now. So it's not a good feeling. But anyway, that's where we are on that. And you know what? You guys are such faithful supporters that I have no doubt that you're going to come through because you've been doing it for 30-something years. So you're not going to change now. In fact, I think you're only getting better. So I'm actually amazed at the number of new partners who have come on board this year, and very, very encouraged by that, you know?
Yeah, it is very encouraging that the family is growing, the GLC family, and worldwide, which is really neat.
Well, the very balanced message that we're trying to convey now is having a profound effect on people. And I'm really, really happy about a new partnership that has been happening behind the scenes, and that's with CFOIC, Christian Friends of Israeli Communities, Sandra Baris and Maggie Pezderts. And Margie is making inroads with many pastors now. Well, that's what her primary job is, traveling around and connecting with pastors who may have a heart for Israel and a little inkling. And
those pastors are very excited that GLC is at the forefront of this movement, especially in this area.
Yeah, in this area. In fact, she was in town this week. We had lunch with her yesterday, and she was giving us a really great report. And she's so excited about this. So we're actually working in conjunction with them and these churches that are looking at setting up meetings for Sandra to come speak.
When you think about it, when people partner with GLC and help support GLC, they're actually fulfilling Scripture, because it's the Gentiles understanding their place within the Commonwealth of Israel, which is prophetic.
It's an amazing place to be. I mean, time-wise, it's such an amazing thing. It's actually kind of scary in a way to be researching so much news and seeing so many bad things that are going on, and ISIS and what they're doing, the Islamic State, and just taking over the Middle East, and actually seeing the fulfillment of Israel being condemned by the world for trying to protect itself. Yes. Today's news is pretty much going to focus on Israel. In fact, that's all we're going to do. But the first thing I want you to do is watch this video from Lars Anderson. They signed a ceasefire last night.
Okay.
So let's see what happens.
Shalom, I'm Lars Anderson with the Watchman International, coming to you with this report on the situation in Israel on Wednesday, August 27. Yesterday, the government of Israel agreed to an open-ended ceasefire for at least 30 days with the terrorist organizations in Gaza. The decision was made by the Prime Minister Netanyahu alone, without meeting with his security cabinet for an approval. The reason was because he feared that he would not have received a support for this decision by a majority of the members in the security cabinet. Hamas continued to fire rockets into Israel until the very last moment. In fact, even after the ceasefire was set to begin at 7 p.m. local Israeli time, Hamas continued for at least 10-15 minutes to fire missiles into Israel. One civilian died from these missiles just 1 hour before the ceasefire began, and the leaders of the communities surrounding the Gaza Strip are very disappointed with the decision to enter into a ceasefire agreement with Hamas. And they are asking the people who have fled their homes when the conflict began to not return yet until the situation has become more stable. They say that the last time that the government told us it was safe to return, it led to the tragic death of a 4-year-old boy. And we do not trust any ceasefire agreements with Hamas. They have broken everyone so far. So the situation is still very unstable. And Prime Minister Netanyahu is receiving criticism for this decision, both from the left and the right. In fact, the leader of the opposition, Labour Party leader Yitzhak Herzog, called for new elections just a few days ago because he said that it's obvious that Prime Minister Netanyahu has failed in his leadership during this conflict. So we need to continue to pray. One victory report that we can give is that a rocket hit a home in Ashkelon yesterday, destroying the home, and none was killed in this accident, even though 50 people had to be taken to the hospitals in Ashkelon for treatment, either for injuries or for shock. The parents living in the home escaped just 10 seconds before the rocket hit the bedroom and the bed where they had been sleeping. Also, a mother rescued her 2-year-old baby girl from her bed just seconds before the shock waves from the rocket splattered the window, and the baby's bed was filled with shattered glass just seconds after she had lifted her up from the crib to run to the bomb shelter. All of them say it's a miracle that no one was killed from this rocket that hit the home. Also, rockets have been fired into Israel from Lebanon during the last couple of days. And the situation among the Arabs in Judea and Samaria, and as well as in Israel proper, is continuing to deteriorate. The other day there was a riot on the Temple Mount where the Arabs waved the ISIS flag and chanted slogans for both Hamas and the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, which is Mahmoud Abbas' own military wing. And they asked the people to continue to encourage Hamas to fire rockets at Tel Aviv. One of the spokespersons for Hamas said yesterday that the conflict is not about Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu needs to understand that the conflict is about Jerusalem, and we will never give up. So it is now a ceasefire, but the conflict is not over, and Hamas has not been defeated. One more thing that we need to report on in this update is that another yeshiva student, a 23-year-old young man, is missing in Jerusalem since Friday. The police is very concerned that he has been kidnapped, and so the conflict is still not over. Israel has agreed to continue negotiations with Hamas indirectly after 30 days if the ceasefire holds, when they will begin to negotiate about the future of the Gaza Strip. The situation in the Middle East is likened to the sand dunes in the desert. Nothing is permanent. The landscape is shifting from day to day, and it is a very volatile situation right now in Israel. So please stand with us in prayer. I'm Lars Enarsson with the Watchman International. God bless you and shalom.
It's a miracle that that baby in the crib was not covered in glass.
Yeah, it is. Okay, let's get to the news. We don't have much time left. We have an article that comes to us from the New York Times and Arutz Sheva. Jerusalem. After 50 days of fighting, Israeli and Palestinian leaders reached an open-ended ceasefire agreement on Tuesday that promised only limited change to conditions in Gaza and left unresolved the broader issues underpinning the conflict. Hamas, the militant Islamist faction that dominates Gaza, declared victory, even though it had abandoned most of its demands, ultimately accepting an Egyptian-brokered deal that differs little from one pro-offered on the battle's 7th day. In effect, the deal put both sides back where they were at the end of 8 days of fighting in 2012, with terms that called for easing, but not lifting, of Israeli restrictions on travel, trade, and fishing in Gaza.
Hamas's call for a seaport and airport in Gaza and Israel's call for demilitarization of the coastal territory, as well as a swap of and for the bodies of 2 IDF soldiers killed during this latest confrontation for Palestinian terrorists being held in Israeli prisons, were put off for discussion within a month if the truce holds. Well, the agreement followed a week of renewed fighting after the collapse of an earlier ceasefire. Israel killed several top Hamas military commanders and felled 3 high-rise buildings in risky airstrikes, while more than 100 rockets a day pounded Israel's battered south. The continual barrage of rocket fire and fears about schools starting on Monday without a ceasefire had increased pressure on the Israeli government from citizens exhausted by what had become a war of attrition.
The agreement restores the 6 nautical mile fishing zone off Gaza's coast that Israel agreed to in 2012 but later cut back. It also says that Israeli-controlled border crossings will be open to allow the quick entry of humanitarian aid and materials to reconstruct Gaza, where more than 11,000 homes and scores of schools and mosques have been reduced to rubble. A senior Israeli official said the entry of cement and concrete would be monitored to ensure it was used for civilian purposes because, quote, we're not interested in allowing Hamas to rebuild its military machine in tunnels.
Yes. Sami Abu Zuri, a Hamas spokesman, announced at Al-Shifa Hospital, "We declare the victory of the Palestinian resistance, the victory of Gaza. We achieved some of our instantaneous demands out of this battle. We became closer to Jerusalem and our Palestinian lands." In Gaza City, Allahu Akbar, Allah is greater, blared from mosque loudspeakers, and celebratory gunshots exploded in the air as hundreds waved the green flags of Hamas, while displaced residents raced back to damaged or destroyed homes in border areas. Health officials said a 19-year-old girl had been killed and 45 others wounded by the mass firing of gunshots skyward as many residents rushed to celebrate.
At a press conference Wednesday night, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, accompanied by Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon and IDF Chief of Staff Benny Gantz, responded to the outpouring of criticism of his decision to seal a ceasefire deal. Netanyahu stated, "When the mission of destroying the tunnels was completed, we pulled the forces back so as to prevent Hamas from killing our soldiers or abducting them, goals they were waiting for. Still, we continued to strike from the air and killed around 1,000 terrorists of the enemy, including officials in the command echelon. The damage that Hamas absorbed is a blow that it hasn't absorbed in its history, a military and diplomatic blow. With the establishment of the ceasefire, I can say that this is a great military and diplomatic achievement. Hamas has been hit critically and didn't receive any of the demands it asked for." Speaking about the road forward in terms of security, Netanyahu said, "We will not suffer a drip of rockets on any part of the state of Israel. And how we've responded before, we will respond even stronger." See, he knows that they're probably going to break that ceasefire because they always do, and that will allow him
to justify being able to go, as if they need something to justify going in and stopping the terrorism. Okay, well, this next article comes to us from Israel National News. The southern kibbutz community of Nahal Oz will name a new residential neighborhood after Daniel Tragerman, the 4-year-old murdered by a Hamas mortar shell last Friday. The neighborhood will include 40 housing units. During a noon press conference on Monday, Daniel's parents, Doron and Gila, recounted their version of Friday's events. They said they had less than 3 seconds to take cover and that their young son did not have time to avoid the mortar shrapnel. His father said, "This deadly mortar shell struck after several explosions in the area," Doron said. "The code red alarm startled us all and everything happened very fast. This time, you understand, it didn't strike in an open area near the kibbutz, but just behind the wall of the house."
Daniel's father continued, "Daniel came out, and I felt shrapnel pass very fast in front of me." His mother, Gila, said Daniel had been playing inside a tent in the living room and froze out of fear. Usually, Daniel is the first to run into the shelter, but this time, he froze in place, she said. "We had a terrible feeling about this alarm." Daniel's parents said that they, like many residents in the Gaza area, will not be returning to Nahal Oz at the end of the 7-day mourning period. Finance Minister Yair Lapid, who visited the Traegermans' home Monday afternoon during the Shiva, that's the mourning period, said, "There is something wrong in the world when you come to sit Shiva with a family that has lost a 4-year-old. There are no answers."
Well, there's been a growing backlash against the government in Israel over the perceived abandonment of security for citizens in the south, a feeling that was capped off with Tuesday's ceasefire deal. Israeli TV's Channel 10 reported on Monday that the residents of kibbutz Nahal Oz said 5 mortar barrels have been aimed directly at their community by Gaza terrorists since the beginning of Operation Protective Edge on July 8th. Residents claim the IDF told them that 3 launch sites are embedded adjacent to schools where displaced Gaza residents are taking shelter, and therefore the IDF did not strike them in order to eliminate the threat. They added that the IDF said that 2 other barrels are located adjacent to the houses of residents who the IDF was unable to contact to ask them to leave in order to avoid harming them. As a result, the IDF likewise decided not to strike.
I want to break and share that on Saturday, the Air Force bombed a 12-story apartment building in Gaza City, which the IDF claims held a Hamas war room. The IAF first delivered a knock on the roof, in which a missile struck the roof of the building slightly to warn the residents to evacuate. After 10 minutes, the IAF destroyed the building. According to Gaza hospital officials, 22 people were wounded, but there were no fatalities. That's a 12-story apartment building. Now that shows you how much care the IDF takes in not harming civilians and how Hamas is taking advantage of Israel's love for people. It also appears from reports that Israel knew the location of Hamas's military chief, Mohammed Deif, a full 3 days ahead of its assassination attempt on him last Tuesday. Unfortunately, Hamas had not yet breached the ceasefire, and therefore the IDF chose not to strike. Appraising the effect of such decisions not to strike, the commander of the IAF Special Reconnaissance Flying Camel Squadron said recently that aborting airstrikes due to Hamas's tactics of embedding among civilian sabotages the operation. Barak Senior, an associate fellow at Britain's Royal United Services Institute for Defense and Security Studies, told Arutz Sheva prior to the ceasefire that Israel is, quote, choosing not to win in Gaza. According to Senior, Israel should have gone in harder and quicker, should reclassify human shields as enemy combatants, and stop aborting airstrikes, noting Israel should not subject itself to norms and procedures that no military of any Western liberal democracy would ever consider.
It's amazing their patience with what's going on.
They defend life.
Yes. Okay, well, this is another article from Israel National News. After a year and a half of intensive operations and treatment, 4-year-old Adele Bitton will be returning to her home in the town of Yakir in Samaria on Thursday. Little Adele, who was critically wounded in a rock-throwing attack more than a year ago, still has a long road of recovery ahead of her. In March 2013, little Adele was traveling in a car with her siblings and mother, Adva, close to the city of Ariel. Their car was ambushed by Arabs who hurled rocks at the car, causing it to veer off the road and crash headfirst into a truck. Adele, who was just 3 years old at the time, was left critically injured and fighting for her life. Investigators say she was struck directly in the head by fist-sized rock thrown by her attackers.
Along with her family's joy at her return, there are also fears for the long road to recovery which lies ahead for the infant victim of terror. Following a difficult period in intensive care and extensive operations, Adele was transferred for rehab at a hospital in Ra'anana. As her recovery slowly progressed, she was allowed home to Yakir for weekends. Earlier this year, the hospital took steps to release Adele from their care, saying there was little more they could do for her. Today, little Adele is responding to certain stimulus and capable of some movement, but still requires constant care. She has a long and arduous period of intensive therapy still ahead of her, including speech therapy and physiotherapy.
Adding to the sense of celebration at Adele's homecoming, Adva is currently in her 9th month of pregnancy and will soon give birth to her first son after 4 daughters. Thank God there will be happiness and joy. God is helping us, she said. Tomorrow we'll also see another development related to the attack in which Adva and her 3 other daughters were also lightly injured. A military court will be conducting a hearing for the main terrorist convicted for the crime, one of a group of 5 Arab youths arrested for throwing rocks at cars in that area. Adva said she wanted to attend to advocate against concessions or agreements with the terrorist, but Adele's homecoming was more important to her. If I could, I would stand there and look the terrorist in the eyes so he can see that he hasn't broken us, and so that judges will know that we demand he receives the punishment that is due to him.
And another article from Arut Sheva. Nave, age 7, and Yahya, age 9, were returning home from their first day of school on Wednesday at a yeshiva in Nazareth Elite when they were accosted by Arab children who asked if they were Jewish and proceeded to hurl rocks at them. The 9-year-old Yahya spoke to Arut Sheva about the harrowing experience, saying, "After we finished studies, we wanted to go home. We went together with 2 other kids from the yeshiva. On the way, several Arab kids around 9 years old were sitting on Yodbat Street," recounted Yahya. "They asked if we were Jews, and we said yes. Then they told us, 'Get out of here, we don't like Jews.' We didn't respond and continued walking. Suddenly I saw my little brother Nave crying. One of the rocks hit him in the ear. The Arabs got up to see if they hit us, and we continued home," said the 9-year-old.
The mother of the 2 young boys told Arut Sheva, "We live on Herman Street, which is an adjacent street to Yodfat, where the attack happened. It happened in the middle of the day, and I'm totally shocked. Until today, we never came across something like this. The police didn't find the Arab children, but our kids are still shocked. The residents of the Jewish community have complained of a rise in crime coinciding with a large influx of Arab Israelis moving into the Jewish town. Many have warned that the very Jewish character of the town is in jeopardy."
The rock attack comes amid a spate of similar attacks. Also on Wednesday, an 11-month-old baby girl was lightly hurt after Arab terrorists threw rocks at the car she was in at Yitzhar Junction in Samaria. The Magen David Adom ambulance driver who brought her to Schneider Children's Hospital in Petah Tikva remarked that the rock that hit the baby was the size of a fist, and that the fact that the baby did not suffer more severe injuries is a miracle.
It is.
They have been having attacks all over the place. In Jerusalem, there are several more that we don't have time to share today. Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and they're hurling rocks, they're attacking, and, I hope you could see the slingshot in that guy's hand in the picture that we just showed you. Hey, we love you a lot. We thank you for standing with us, and we will see you on Friday.